Major alert. You know, I should do a song for this. 24,000 Bitcoin on the wall, 24,000 Bitcoin. If one whale was happened to sell, 6,000 less in the price of Bitcoin. That's the best I can do. Hey guys, a Bitcoin whale over the weekend sold 24,000 Bitcoin worth 2.7 billion. That was a $4,000 crash in 10 minutes, but it's a $6,000 move from high to low. And here's the big thing. They're still holding over 152,000 Bitcoin in this wallet worth more than $17 billion. So that's just walking around money. That 2.7, that's some walking around change. That's some front pocket money right there. Amazing. So, you gotta know this volatility is gonna happen, but you also must be thinking, why is it when Michael Saylor buys $2.5 billion in Bitcoin, we barely see a move up, but when a Bitcoin whale sells 2.7 billion, we see a big move down? I'll tell you why. Because Michael Saylor's not buying on the exchange, all right? He's buying behind the scenes, and he's not making Bitcoin move. The whales buy on the exchange. They make the moves, and then what happens? Then the leverage longs get pulled out of the market, and then the whales, well, they trickle back in. And that seems to be what has happened in this example. Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about our longer term case, and does it still hold in light of what happened over the weekend? Recently as of last month, I showed you this chart. This was the last 100 days of Bitcoin going back to April 4th when we saw tariff delays with Bitcoin down around 75,000. Do you remember when Bitcoin was at 75,000? Probably easier for you to remember than when it was at $75. But from 75,000, we started moving higher. We were back above 100,000 when the China deal was announced. And then, of course, we had the pullback during the Iran strike. But the big, beautiful bill passed and pushed Bitcoin back and above to all-time highs at 120,894. That was back in July. What's happened since? Well, I'm going to show you a couple charts. Here's the 6-month chart once again, but I'm pushing it to the new all-time highs that eclipsed that 120,000. We're now closing all-time highs of 123,375. So what is that 105,375 on the board for? Well, that's because if you take this low down here at 75,000 and you take this closing high up here at 123,375, that is the 38% pullback, folks. Hey, I'm Tom Gentile, America's pattern trader, and while other traders are bracing for the worst months in decades, I already know what stock I'm trading this month. My money counter has identified the most reliable stock patterns over the next 30 days with a 90% or better historical probability. Scan my QR code or click the link below to learn how to get this month's money counter for just $9. The Fibonacci pullback, 105,375, the most important number I'm looking at right now. Anything below that, well, we got to go down to 99,815. I imagine if we get down to around 100, we're gonna jump below 100 because there's a lot of longer term longs that will get pulled out at that level. And of course, 94,254 is the worst case that I see for a continued bullish move to the upside. That's a 61% pullback, 61.8%. And that would probably get us at about, if you take a look, 123,375 down to 94, that's about a 25% move lower. You know what else was a 25% move lower? A little bit more? When we went from those all-time highs back at the beginning of the year down to 75,000. So it's absolutely doable and still maintains the bullish move in Bitcoin. But I want to show you a shorter term chart. So let's look at this last 75 days. Last 75 days, you remember, we pulled back below 100,000. That was at the end of June. From there, we moved up and we tagged the all-time high. We hit the all-time closing high again at 120, stood there for a little while, a little bit of a pullback, but then move up little over a week ago to 123,375. Since then, here's what the shorter term chart looks like. A lot of support around 112, 195. 112, 195 is an area of multiple support. If we break that, and I think there's a good chance we will, I've got 109, 556 as the next area of support for Bitcoin. So what about Ethereum? So Ethereum made new all-time highs over the weekend. And one of the stories that came out over the weekend too was Peter Thiel leading the pack of investors piling into Ether. He sees Ethereum becoming the platform of choice for the financial world when it comes to not just a bunch of alt tokens, but the area of Ethereum and its role in blockchain going forward. And obviously its role in efficiency when it comes to moving things in world currencies. That pushed Ethereum up to, I saw it at 49.50, I believe, on Saturday before we saw that quick move back. And so what ended up happening? Well, Ethereum did pull back just like Bitcoin, but I'll tell you what, Ethereum is holding very strong right now. This is the last 75 days of Ethereum. I don't even want to show you the last 6 months because it doesn't matter. The last 75 days are the most important to me, as you see 2,200 back at the end of June, and 48.30 was the closing high that happened just before the weekend. The all-time high actually pushed up. This was again on Saturday. And so you can see that nice big move. And of course, we had the pullback that took us down in the 45 area. But now, and this is as of this video, we're looking at 46.35. So it has pulled back. It's come off those pullback lows that happened earlier today. The real number I see, if we were to take the lows from the end of June to the highs from just a few days ago, 38.36 on 38% Fibonacci retracement. All right. So, adding all this up, my base cases are still intact. My base case for 2025 for Bitcoin, still 138,000, potentially 150K, but 138 is my base case, and I still think there's room for this bull to run. Ethereum, if we were to take the same, and Ethereum's been much, much stronger, but I'm trying to stay as conservative as possible here. But if we were to see Bitcoin get back into the 138 camp, that puts Ethereum somewhere around 6,000, 6,500 if it just follows as the percentages lockstep and barrel. And any form of interest rate cuts that are more than expected, I think are going to accelerate these particular numbers. So again, short-term volatility usually is right before that long-term upswing.